What if all of the volcanoes on Earth erupted at once? Earth, a dynamic planet with molten lava flowing beneath its crust. Home to hundreds of dormant volcanoes that could erupt at any moment. Imagine a day when they all awaken simultaneously, unleashing an unimaginable force of destruction. What would happen to our planet? Could humanity survive such an unprecedented catastrophe? Let's explore this terrifying scenario. The immediate consequences. If every volcano on Earth erupted at once, the initial consequences would be immediate, triggering widespread geological and environmental disasters. This would not be a singular event but a chain reaction plunging the planet into unparalleled chaos. As volcanoes simultaneously unleash their fury, the pressure from billions of tons of magma shifting beneath the surface would cause violent earthquakes across the globe. The tectonic plate system, responsible for maintaining Earth's stability, would be severely impacted. Regions near tectonic boundaries, such as the Pacific Ring of Fire, would experience massive earthquakes reaching magnitudes of 9.0 or higher on the Richter scale. Coastal cities like Tokyo, San Francisco, and Jakarta would shake violently, with buildings collapsing within minutes. Gigantic tsunamis, towering over 50 meters, would wipe out coastal areas, devastating entire nations within hours. Massive fissures would tear through continents, permanently altering landscapes in an irreversible manner. In 1883, the eruption of Krakatoa triggered a 40-meter tsunami that swept across islands, killing over 36,000 people. Now, imagine such destruction on a global scale. No place would be safe. Rivers of lava and the invisible threat of toxic gases. Lava from hundreds of volcanoes would surge forth at terrifying speeds, up to 60 kilometers per hour, fast enough to engulf cities, farmland, and forests. Streams of scorching basaltic lava would travel hundreds of kilometers, obliterating everything in their path. Yet, even more dangerous than lava would be the release of toxic gases. Sulfur dioxide. So, when mixed with the atmosphere, sulfur dioxide forms acid rain, devastating crops, contaminating water sources, and killing wildlife. Carbon dioxide, CO, an enormous release of carbon dioxide would accelerate the greenhouse effect, causing abrupt climate changes. In low-lying areas, CO could accumulate into toxic air pockets, suffocating humans within minutes. Methane, CH, released from permafrost and oceanic reserves. Methane is 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide in trapping heat, creating a catastrophic climate feedback loop. A historical example: the 1986 eruption of Lake Nyos in Cameroon released a lethal amount of carbon dioxide, asphyxiating over 1.700 people in minutes, with hundreds of volcanoes erupting simultaneously. This disaster would escalate on a global scale. A planet shrouded in darkness. As the volcanoes erupt, trillions of tons of ash would be ejected into the atmosphere. Volcanic ash not only causes respiratory failure but is the primary driver of climate disaster. A dense layer of ash would block sunlight, plunging Earth into a prolonged, volcanic winter. Global temperatures could drop by 5 to 15 degrees Celsius, potentially triggering a short-term ice age. The aviation industry would collapse, as ash clouds would damage aircraft engines, grounding all flights indefinitely. History has seen similar events before. In 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia filled the atmosphere with ash, lowering global temperatures and causing the year without a summer in 1816. In 1991, Mount Pinatubo erupted, reducing global temperatures by 0.5 degrees Celsius in just 1 year. If every volcano on Earth erupted, the impact could be many times worse. Within hours, Earth would descend into chaos: earthquakes, tsunamis, lava flows, toxic gases, and an engulfing darkness. Civilization could collapse before humanity even had a chance to respond. But this would only be the beginning. The true catastrophe would unfold in the following weeks and months. The long-term consequences: a dying planet. Just weeks after all of Earth's volcanoes erupt, our planet would enter an era of extreme climate transformation, with long-lasting and irreversible effects. While the immediate geological disasters would have already devastated human society, the ensuing climate collapse would push civilization to the brink of extinction. One of the most terrifying consequences of a global eruption is the volcanic winter caused by ash blocking sunlight. Trillions of tons of volcanic ash and sulfur dioxide would be propelled into the stratosphere, forming a thick veil that blocks 70 to 90% of sunlight. Global temperatures would plummet by 5 to 15 degrees Celsius within weeks. Temperate and subtropical regions would experience extreme winter conditions, while polar areas would become frozen wastelands. Oceans would also suffer, as widespread surface freezing would disrupt marine ecosystems, leading to mass extinctions. Historical events of similar nature. In 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora caused a global temperature drop of up to 3 degrees Celsius, leading to the year without a summer, 1816, during which snow fell in mid-June across North America and Europe. In 1991, the eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines caused a global temperature drop of 0.5 degrees Celsius for over a year. If multiple volcanoes erupted simultaneously, this effect would last not just for a few years but potentially for decades, pushing Earth into a short-term ice age. Immediate consequences of a volcanic winter. The direct consequence of a volcanic winter would be the collapse of the global food supply chain. With sunlight blocked, plants would be unable to photosynthesize, leading to agricultural failure. A sudden temperature drop would cause massive crop failures, affecting wheat, corn, rice, and fruit-bearing plants. Acid rain, caused by sulfuric gases from volcanoes mixing with rainwater, would contaminate freshwater sources, making drinking water scarce. Livestock farming and fishing would decline, as animals would struggle to survive in extreme environmental conditions. The result? Global famine. Nations dependent on food imports would quickly deplete their reserves. Regions already suffering from food shortages, such as Africa and the Middle East, would see a dramatic rise in starvation-related deaths. Elsewhere, conflicts and riots over food supplies would break out, plunging humanity into chaos. History has shown similar catastrophic events. When the Laki volcano in Iceland erupted in 1783, its toxic gases and ash devastated crops across Europe, leading to one of the worst famines of the era. Now, with multiple volcanic eruptions occurring simultaneously, this disaster would unfold on a global scale. The chain reaction of ecosystem collapse. Earth's ecosystems function as an interconnected chain. When one link is broken, the entire system can collapse. A sudden climate shift would make survival impossible for millions of species, triggering a mass extinction event. Herbivores such as bison, deer, elk, and elephants would perish first due to a lack of food. Predators like lions, tigers, and wolves would soon follow as the food chain collapses. Marine life would suffer from reduced oxygen levels and drastic changes in ocean temperature. Historical extinction events. 65 million years ago, an asteroid impact caused a meteorite winter, leading to the extinction of the dinosaurs. 250 million years ago, the Great Permian Extinction occurred following massive volcanic eruptions in Siberia, wiping out 90% of marine species and 70% of land species. If all the volcanoes on Earth erupted simultaneously, we could be facing a similar mass extinction event, one where only the most resilient species would survive. Earth transformed in weeks. Within weeks of the mass eruptions, Earth would be unrecognizable. Darkened skies, plummeting temperatures, dying vegetation, vanishing wildlife. Humanity struggling with starvation and chaos. If civilization fails to adapt, this could mark the end of humanity. The aftermath. A ruined world. After enduring a prolonged volcanic winter and severe famine, Earth would no longer be the planet we once knew. Even after eruptions subside, their devastating effects would continue for years. The atmosphere would remain filled with ash and toxic gases. Human civilization would teeter on the brink of collapse. Ecosystems would struggle to recover from the catastrophe. Would humanity be able to adapt and survive in this new, harsh world? The next phase, a reverse climate shock. After several years, volcanic ash would gradually settle, allowing sunlight to return. However, this would not restore Earth to its previous state, on the contrary. The planet would experience an extreme temperature shift in the opposite direction. Massive amounts of carbon dioxide and methane, (CH), released by volcanic eruptions would remain in the atmosphere, triggering an intense greenhouse effect. With the ash gone, solar heat would be trapped, causing Earth's temperature to rise rapidly. A similar event occurred in the past, the Permian-Triassic extinction, approximately 252 million years ago, is believed to have been triggered by volcanic eruptions in Siberia, which led to a greenhouse effect that raised temperatures by more than 10 degrees Celsius. A rapid shift from ice age to extreme heat. This sudden change would cause further ecosystem disruption. Species that barely adapted to extreme cold would now have to endure lethal heat. Additionally, residual sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide gases would mix with atmospheric moisture, leading to prolonged acid rain that would continue to damage ecosystems and hinder recovery. A collapsed civilization. Even if humanity survived the initial phase, they would still face a shattered society. Food and water shortages. Even after weather conditions stabilize, agriculture would not recover immediately due to soil contamination from acid rain and toxic gases. Freshwater sources would remain contaminated with sulfur, prolonging the water shortage crisis. Conflicts and wars over resources. As resources dwindle, surviving nations and communities would face wars and riots. Areas with better living conditions would become targets of massive migration waves, leading to conflicts between different groups of people. Severe technological decline. Economies dependent on fossil fuels and heavy industry would collapse. Power grids, telecommunications, and the internet could completely disappear. Humanity might have to revert to a pre-industrial way of life, relying on hunting, gathering, and small-scale farming. Historical civilizations that collapsed due to natural disasters. The Mayan civilization declined after prolonged droughts. The Akkadian Empire, Mesopotamia, fell due to climate change, leading to crop failures and wars. A global volcanic catastrophe could lead modern civilization down a similar path, but on a much larger scale. The Earth's recovery process. Although the aftermath of a massive volcanic eruption would be devastating, the Earth has the ability to heal over time. However, this recovery would not be quick. It could take hundreds to thousands of years, depending on the severity of the disaster. Nature begins to reclaim itself. Trees would gradually grow back in less affected areas. New ecosystems would emerge, favoring the species best adapted to the new conditions. Some species might evolve to survive in extreme environments. Just as life rebounded after the dinosaur extinction, the rebuilding of humanity, if survivors remain. If groups of humans survived, they might rebuild civilization from scratch. Scientific knowledge could accelerate the rebuilding process. But if technology were completely lost, it might take thousands of years for humanity to return to modern development levels. The future of Earth. If humans were to disappear, nature would slowly erase the traces of civilization, just as forests now reclaim abandoned cities. Some scientists believe that after 10,000 years, Earth could return to a balanced state, with new ecosystems replacing those that were lost. A changed world. Years after the mass volcanic eruption, Earth would be unrecognizable. Climate extremes, the collapse of civilization, and possibly the extinction of humanity. Nature would take thousands of years to recover. This is not just a hypothetical scenario but also a stark reminder of how fragile human civilization is against the forces of nature. If every volcano on Earth erupted simultaneously, it could mark the beginning of an entirely new era, or the end of everything. What we've explored is not just a scientific theory but a warning about the vulnerability of our planet and the civilization we have built. If all the volcanoes on Earth erupted at once, The consequences would be catastrophic: earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic winter, mass extinctions, and the collapse of humanity. While the Earth may recover after thousands of years, will humans still be around to witness that day? This is a thought-provoking scenario. What do you think about this possibility? If it were to happen, how would you try to survive? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this content interesting and valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exciting future videos.